Okay, so we need to talk about the Capri chaos that was this latest episode of The Valley. Kaylin, what were your thoughts just overall? Are we still in the same boat? Are we still sat for this show?
I am. I am. Surely, because we know a lot more is coming. We've seen the previews.
Yes.
Oh, Kristen,
Ugh, no.
girly pop. What? Oh, I
I
at
wanna
the
I wanna support her, but she makes it really hard.
when at the dinner when she says, "I can't believe you guys would bring up this racist shit," and everyone's like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "Oh no, Kristen." Oh,
It's
yeah,
that's why I'm saying it was, episode 1 and 2, I was right there with her. I was like, "Yo,
yeah,
you guys are being dicks."
mean.
Then the last 2 episodes, I'm like, I'm gonna excuse myself and go to the bathroom for this because I can't actually stand up for you here. You are running rapid with that mouth, and you really need to reel it in because you are getting hung to paint like a painting at this point. You are saying all the wrong things.
And even when it came to that moment, she was sitting there talking with Zach and with Janet's husband, Jason, and I believe Luke was there. And when Janet comes over after Zach's like, why is Kristen smelling like, or Kristen, why is Janet coming out smelling like roses? And Kristen knew with Janet being pregnant, you can't go after her, which I don't think is totally fair if you're going to stir some shit up, because I think a lot of things were very telling about this. So far, I do like Janet, but when
Mhm.
Jax is saying Janet and I are very similar, that we like to stir shit up and then stand back and watch, I was like, oh, uh-oh.
I see it. I saw it. At first I was like, wow, they really threw her out there to dry, Janet. But then this little interaction part, I was like, now I don't know because you may not have said that word, but you may have very much alluded to
Mm-hmm.
that. But because you didn't technically say she was a racist, that is the truth. That is a fact. She is one of those people that you want to watch out for in corporate
Mince
America.
the words. Yes.
She'll come stand in your office and talk
Mm.
your ear off like she's your friend, but secretly she's going to get you fired.
Well, and did you notice whenever Michelle had called her last week on FaceTime and asked Janet, did you say this? I'm sorry, the second someone gets a smile on their face when they're asked a question and it's something like that, because Janet full blown smiled and went, "What?" Now, if someone asked me if I said something like that about someone that I was close to and I know I never said that, I'd be like, "Are you effing kidding me?" No, I would never say that. That's it.
Well, the
But she
reaction
got
would
this
be,
smile.
are you fucking joking? Why
Yeah.
would I ever think like that's the
I don't
most
think that of you.
insane thing? I don't think that. I don't like that's ridiculous. But yeah, you're right. That's why I'm like, I don't
Mm-mm.
know. But what I will say, Janet, is let's not talk about having stress-free situations, dear. You willingly and very
Yes.
pregnantly signed up to be on a show that was the idea came from Jax Taylor's brain.
My
Where
thoughts
in there did
exactly.
you think that this was going to be a stress-free zone for you?
And that's the thing too, is it good for you when you're pregnant to be yelling back and forth, to be yelled at? No. If it's in your home you're in a work environment, which this is a work environment. But I felt like in that moment, and this is coming as someone who has been pregnant and given birth and done the whole thing. I just want to remind y'all that I have experienced the whole thing. And when she sat down and Kristen said, well, I don't want to stress you out essentially because you're protecting your baby. And then when she said back to her, since when have you cared about that? What Kristen just said to you, Janet, was, I don't want to get into this with you because I know you're pregnant and you can't, But for Janet to then say, this has been stressing me out. Okay, well, babe, don't go have these conversations. You've known Kristen for how long? Why are you going and having these conversations with her? Or, I mean, Zach, he's very close to Kristen. What makes you think he wouldn't go tell her about that? And this was brought up at a dinner with Britney and Michelle originally talking about the Don't Say Gay bill. And so I'm kind of like, Janet, I'm starting to see through it.
Hello?
You can deal with a certain amount of stress when you are pregnant. It's not, like I said, it's not good for you, especially if you have certain conditions happening. But she's clearly she's in that second trimester. She's got a lot of good hormones working through her that are actually at that point, you feel like a normal person and things are better for you as long as you're not having other conditions. But something about it, how it was suddenly weaponized. I didn't like that at all.
Well, that's the type, you can tell that's how Janet plays when she's being messy. And that's going to make great TV, but you're going to be pissed off at her at times, which, listen, I have to say, and I'm being 100% honest right now, for this being such a very new show with a lot of new cast members.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for myself here. For me to remember all of their names
right
after episode 1 without having to be like, wait, what's that guy's name? Or because when it's a new cast of people, you get jumbled when there's and there's a lot of couples on this show.
Right.
They've done such a great job of organically making it very easy to just kind of get a glimpse of who each of these people are. So when we do have these interactions that take place that do go off the rails, you kind of it's easier to pull back the layers.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense what I'm saying? It just feels like it's easier to digest them. I'm saying this because I'm so shocked that I'm even saying it, because I really did not give this show an ounce of energy. I wasn't excited for the premiere. I was like, all right, I'll watch and see what it is. But it's really kind of, I'm impressed.
I am too. I think that Jesse aside, because that man infuriates me, and I know he boils your blood as well. But I think we did need a character like him on there because somehow he makes Jax not look so awful.
Brings us to the next scene is we find out that Cruz is kind of shut down. He's not being vocal. He's not really speaking anymore.
He's regressed from what it sounds like.
Yeah. And so they have, someone come by to kind of help, I don't think tutor is the right word, but kind of,
occupational therapy.
Yeah. Try to get him to use those expressions and speak and make some noise. And he eventually did try to make some verbal movement. But the one thing that stuck out to me, and I don't know if you picked up on this, was, and I'm not a parent, so please don't come after me, guys. I'm just looking at it from where I was sitting. But it almost felt more like this was more egotistical than it was. I'm not saying they don't care, okay? I obviously know that that's not a question. But in that moment, for me, it felt like, come on, Cruz, we really need you to fix that because it's really making us feel bad about us. It felt like it was more on, and I get if you're the parent, you would kind of feel that way, right?
You do. You feel like you've done something wrong, and it is, I think why it maybe came off that way for you, it might be because Jax had mentioned comparing children,
Maybe.
and I understood what he was saying. Listen to me defending Jax at this moment,
No, it's
because
real. It's real.
it's when you are comparing, like, there is a sinking feeling when you see other kids your own child's age doing something more advanced, and you feel like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? And it's not even like you're sitting there being like, their kid is better. It's like, oh shit, is there something wrong with them? Because, and I want to say this as gently and compassionately as I can, when kids are around the 2 to 3 age, that's when things a lot of times like autism can be screened. And that's when the symptoms of autism typically show.
Maybe perhaps that is what I was picking up on. Maybe they feel like they have contributed, maybe
Could.
at least Britney. There was a look on her face that felt like, yes, I get it. It's her kid. She's going to feel responsible in any capacity. But there was a different, her energy was just up a little bit more on the like, did I do this? Did we
You're
do
that way
this?
about everything with your kids too, though.
Did I,
Everything.
did we do this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I
And
think
then I
that's a
would flash
possibility.
back to those screaming matches. And then I'd be like, oh my God. I would see this is why I couldn't I wouldn't that would demolish me because I
It
would
does.
and I
Every
that's
little
where it would
mistake you
be
make
too
as a parent,
challenging, to then have to then try to fix what you ultimately broke. Let's be honest. In
listen,
most cases, I'm not saying all,
yeah,
but
every little thing you've done wrong when you're a parent that you can sit there, I mean, and replay in your head. Oh my God. But, at the end of the day, kids are resilient. You're not going to ruin your child from one or two things like that. It sounds like they've done, and they're getting him the, the support he needs in that sense. And sometimes kids are just that way. They just will confuse the living hell out of you.
there is a scene where we do for the first time this season see Michelle and Jesse kind of not hate each other, but for a very weird reason on Jesse's part. So this is where I'm like, okay, you are a fucking creep, like kinky weirdo dude that is like one of those guys that was like shorter than all his friends and always had to be the loudest one. I already can tell,
Yeah.
okay?
Yep.
So he goes, well, when you like got up and started yelling at everyone, that chair flew back. I was so turned on. I was just like, oh, so that's what this is all about. You just want to rev her up so that she finally loses her. And I'm sure she wants to do what she did to Kristen in that moment to him. A lot of times, let's be honest, because some of that was a little deflecting. Sorry, Michelle. I'm not buying that you're some perfect, innocent human here. I know things are being laid out in a way where you're looking like a victim, but I don't necessarily think that you're completely innocent. Based
Not
on the
if you
fact
could
that you
marry
thought that
Jesse.
the Don't Say Gay bill was a good idea for children. Nonetheless, the point is, these two are a classic case of toxic relationships that went on too long. And she even says it. It was a booty call that never ended. And that's exactly the energy that we're getting from these two. That is the perfect title for it. A booty call that never ended. Because honestly, you said it yourself. You met him for coffee. You knew he wasn't the one. So how did you end up marrying this man, then putting a baby out with him?
Ain't that the question?
Because
Because
I was
I
under the impression that you guys met and then maybe like he was
at least
one
liked each
way and
other.
then yeah, you guys just booty called and he stuck around.
Yeah, it was odd to me. Um because of course living in LA, it's a totally different thing, but at that point living in LA, you have to get down to the crux of people's personalities because so many people are beautiful there, if you understand what I mean by that. And it's easy to find a beautiful person, but it's also easy to find more beautiful assholes there than, I'm not saying other states don't have pretty people, but Jesus, before anyone comes after me. But that being said, it's like a totally different environment than being somewhere else dating. And I'm sorry, but the way, did you notice how it was only about how she was going to put Isabella down for bed that night? And there was no offer to help her. Then he lets her know, well, he's going to an event. And it's like, what? This man wants all the perks of being married and being a father without actually having to do anything. And he also was making fun of her, saying that she shoved her chair back. Well, your chair went flying. They replayed it. I'm like, is there a chair?
It barely tipped over. Are you kidding me? Like, he is just, you know what the thing is, and I realized this when he brought up his little kink fetish, where he clearly wants to be treated like garbage, it sounds like. So of course you do, because those are the types of guys that typically like to be tied up to a wall and beaten senseless. I mean, but nonetheless, the thing that stood out after this was that Janet now has this event called, for the Be the Match Foundation, because her friend Jared was, able to find a match that saved his life with stem cell research and all that wonderfulness. And so this event is very important to her. But the seating charts are a bit tricky because we do have the issue with Kristen and what table are we putting her at, so we don't have any drama, because she wants to ensure that the event is not overtaken by the Kristen drama. And again, I'm noticing this it's so calculating, Janet, and I'm starting to see it. This episode, it was crystal clear to me, because I was like, oh. And I think if Jax had not said that, I probably would have overlooked it completely.
Same.
But as soon as he said it, my eyes twitched and looked at her differently ever since. And so now everything is like, yeah, we're really up to Janet, But, yeah, ultimately, like, I think she's playing ball, so I appreciate that, right? She clearly is ready for this moment, because sometimes you get these groups of people on these shows and you can tell they have no idea what they're supposed to do, and there's just a lot of nothing. Yeah. But Janet, I feel, is going to, I think, really be bringing a lot to the show as I agree. A personality.
She may drive us nuts a few times, because the way she also said, yeah, well, Kristen has known Jared longer technically, but we've been closer. Jared and I have become closer. And I'm like,
she's so petty.
It's interesting to me. Yeah, you could have just said, yeah, Kristen's known him for many years and he and I are very close. Like, it wasn't. So she's looking for any opportunity to take a dig at Kristen as well. It ain't just Kristen.
Hey, look, it's an easy storyline, right?
Yeah.
So, but speaking of Kristen, she has a little, little chit chat with Luxie's on, she's had to see her therapist twice just over this group of people in the last week. So, Godspeed, Kristen, because you've gotten yourself into another mess, I think. This season has really been something with her. And we're going to get to the Kristen eyes. And if you know what the Kristen eyes are, you know what I'm talking about. We got some of those at the end of this episode. But we get the fellas, the dads, if you will, in a scene where they're all going with their kids. They're all doing like the dad thing. And we get them trying to, Danny's trying to figure out how to put the car seat in, and there's no clips, and he's got to YouTube it. And already my anxiety is through the roof, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I would cancel all of this and say, you guys go, just leave the kids here, please. It would be so much easier. My anxiety would be through the roof watching them pack that minivan up. Are you kidding?
Putting in a car seat is so stressful, because you're like, all you can imagine is if you get in a wreck, how safe is the seat? And you're like, my child, I'm surely going to get in a wreck with my child in the car. And if I don't do this just right, and you hear people saying, oh, you can't do this with the car seat, you can't do that. And I'm like, could someone, I'm sorry, this is something that stresses me the hook out. I need someone to give a free guide because they say, oh, yeah, go to your local fire station. They'll check your car seat out. No, they won't. They don't know every make and model of car seat out there.
No, and
There's
nowadays,
no one to go to.
Those clips that would normally be there in the back seat are not easy to find always, and they're in a very inconspicuous place now because everything's neat and tidy.
Or it's on the hook behind the seat.
Right.
You can have that as the anchor too. So it's like, and if you're not on a perfectly level street, there's like a little level inside of it. And if it's not level, whenever you're on a perfectly level street, then you've done it wrong.
Yes. And then one side can move more. And then you
can't let them wear a jacket in there.
Where's my notebook? Another reason not to have a child. The stress of just getting in and out of the car with it would be, I would have a meltdown every day.
When I first had McCoy and he would scream when he was really little, like newborn, and I would have to get him in his Duna car seat. Let me tell you, the number of times I actually did start crying and sweating my ass off trying to get, I mean, it was July, but still July and August. I finally had to tell myself, if you don't slow down and just take a breath, you're going to have a nervous breakdown every time you get this kid in the car, and you can't live like that. And so finally I just started going, you know what? I don't give a shit if anyone's waiting for my space. I don't care where I have to be. I will take my time because I could not take it. It can be that stressful. Yes. Some people, they're fine. It's not a big deal. So it's, like I said, if you ever want a reason to have a kid, I will give you plenty. If you ever want a reason not to, I will also give you plenty.
I don't know. My list is simply outweighing the pros here. No, I mean, look, I'm sure they all do fine, right? And we've all seen those dads at the park where we're like, are you going to get those kids home safely? You know what I mean? But they end up getting them home safe. They always figure it out.
Yeah.
But, you know, the conversation that takes place, we start to find out that these guys need to really be paying Danny for hourly sessions every week. This man, I mean, Nia,
that's why his wife likes him.
If you are listening, get that man's phone and throw it in the garbage can. He doesn't need one. The amount of women that are going to be throwing their little kitty cats at Danny after watching him talk about love language.
Good man.
Excuse me?
Good man.
Excuse me, Danny boy? Are you literally trying to have every single woman bang down your door right now?
It was precious.
A dad who loves to sit back and take care of the babies while your wife goes and does her... Like, what else, Danny? Did you rob a bank in the 90s? I mean, there's got to be something.
Now, she does have to put up with the Walking Dead noises coming out of their closet occasionally.
Listen, I'll take it. I'll take the fucking walk. You sound like a zombie for 3 hours a day, sweetie. If that's what you're doing, it's totally fine.
The way Jax was like, what is that, like a game? Is it like did you have to go to CVS for that?
I
know, like, Jax, this is not an STD test, okay?
You doing a CVS?
Jesus. Go online. It takes 10 minutes.
Jax is not someone that's going to take the time to get to know Britney, and he never has. He wanted a sex object who then turned into a wife, and then coincidentally now a mother, and he doesn't view her as the same sexy Britney that he met at Hooters, and that's Jax's problem. That's always been Jax's problem, which is why he does cheat on her. And I do believe that he still cheats on her.
I do too.
Not miss how he was staring at that bartender that came in, that they were definitely not going to hire, but he couldn't keep his eyes off her rack. And it's like,
and listen, I am all for whatever is comfortable for you as a bra wearer. There are days I wish I didn't have to do it. I think that maybe like a job interview should at least be a line, and people may roast me for that, but you're on, like, come on, like, you're at a job interview. I don't care.
I'm going to be honest. If I was a woman that needed a bartending job and Jax was going to be the potential boss, I'm not wearing a bra either. Okay? Mama's got bills to pay. I get it, but I'm just saying, also, with the history that Jax has, The last thing you'd be fucking doing is opening a goddamn bar, sir.
Agreed. And
You
he
you go
views it
open
as
that
his
bar,
own
you're gonna
little
go live there. That's what I would say.
he views it as his own little kingdom, and he just holds court there. I guess they'll watch Vanderpump Rules and he'll like, yeah, this is the most scripted show on television. I mean, first 7 seasons, never scripted. It was all real. He had a mic
Oh, I
sitting
saw
at a
that clip.
table in his bar.
But the thing with that is, Jax, you played into it too because it benefited you. And then when it didn't anymore, now you have all these things to say. So, I mean,
And the minute you stepped foot on our TV again in the Valley, all I had to say about you, Jax, was how contrived you are. And I couldn't decide if it was that you've always been that way or you don't know how to be on reality TV again. So I find it really rich that you'd be calling Vanderpump Rules scripted.
well, apparently, according to Jax, it is. But
That's
we
a
got
whole
to
other
talk about
bag.
Luke and Kristen's
Yeah.
life plan because I'm not clear anymore as like I don't think they really are ready to do this family thing because they can't even decide
Where to live?
yeah, and they also am I crazy? I ask this question a lot when I watch 90 Day. I always do that. You guys are just now talking about this? This is when you decide to figure out what location you possibly could settle in? But shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't you get settled somewhere and be like, we're cool here, right? We can have a family here, right? No? Oh, we should talk about that before we plop a baby in the oven, perhaps.
Colorado and Los Angeles are two totally different places.
I'm absolutely.
I mean, it is. And from what it seems, he has a huge amount of land that he lives. I can't even remember where it said that he lived in Colorado, but it looks very much mountainous. I mean, it is different. It is very different. And he is very anti LA. So what are you going to do?
See, this is the problem with her. She wants an old-fashioned type man, right? But an old-fashioned type man doesn't want to live in Los Angeles, babes. No. So you're in a little bit of a pickle, Kristen, because to his point, it's very much more expensive to raise a child in Los Angeles. And from where he's from and what he has in terms of assets, I don't see that type of man wanting to put
now Denver has
$1 down on a 1,200 square foot home in the Valley.
Denver is getting very close to Los Angeles prices in that regard.
But if he already has all the land already.
Exactly. That's the thing. And Kristen also was like, well, I cannot leave LA. Like, dude, she just got back on TV. She has a job now.
I know.
She cannot leave.
No,
what are you talking
this when
about?
She's in Colorado, Luke. You knew what this was.
I mean, go out to I don't know, Rancho Cucamonga if you need to be somewhere that is not Los Angeles.
Or sell some of that land because the price is good and then put that down on something and maybe split your time.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we do the summers and fall in Los Angeles and the winters we do in Colorado or the other way around. I don't know.
I would do it the other way around.
Okay, yeah, that probably sounded really crazy. Like, yeah. You should obviously do the other way around. But I'm saying, like, I think I just was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys you don't have this figured out and you're ready to put a baby in the oven and you don't even know where you're going to live. Insanity.
But at the same time, if they want to do it, go ahead and do it. Just make sure that you at least are of the same mind when it comes to how you want to raise that child. At least the very basic stuff. Like you got to do the politics, religion, that whole talk. And I mean, I have a strong feeling that Luke is rather conservative, but that might just be me being judgy and, looking at the cover of that book before getting to know it. And I'm not saying that in a negative way about him because you don't have to be only right or left. But what I do wonder is things like what if, health-wise, what if something goes wrong during the pregnancy? That's the stuff you have to talk about. That's really uncomfortable. And I don't know that they're at that point yet, but I mean, I don't know what they expect to do. Like, he at least maybe agreed to live in LA with her for like a year or two and rent out his place in Colorado. I don't know.
I would assume he agreed because she's doing the show and that
No, I'm
is
saying,
part of
but
it.
if they could agree to that. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah. But I think she kind of said, like, I can't do it this year or the year after, or the year after that, or the year after that. But after that, maybe. I don't know. I think there's got to be a middle ground. It's not Colorado, it's not Los Angeles, but somewhere in the vicinity. Vegas.
Nobody living in Vegas with a kid. Sorry.
Canada. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time of Luke and Kristen not being able to come to any agreement on where they're going to live, at the same time, Britney and Danny. God, Danny is he is.
I was thrown off for a second. I was like, you are not about to hand your wife roses in a trash can, are you? But then when
But even that was cute. I was like, you little stinker. You just you're doing all the right things and no one's even asking you anything. You're just fucking going around buying all these roses and picking the petals off. Like, who get out of here, Danny?
I just love that couple. Please don't.
They're so darn cute, man.
Please don't prove us wrong in any way.
I know next year they're gonna be like indicted on. No, I'm joking.
Please, God, no. We love that couple.
No. Protect them at all costs. They are such a fantastic little family unit. They're too damn cute for their own.
She seems so kind. Like, she's so beautiful. She was
the only one feeling sorry for Kristen. Then she's kind.
Yeah.
She's like, wait a second. Maybe things got lost in translation.
Yeah. I mean,
they're like,
listen.
Nia, sit it out, okay? Little perfect family.
I mean, honestly, like, it's so hard to believe that someone that gorgeous could be that sweet, but I think, and she's interesting. So
yeah, she's got a great personality. She's very well-rounded and they both seem like healthy people. Like, it's just, you know what it is? It's odd that we're watching healthy.
We're not used to it.
Beings that have dealt with their shit and moved on and are deciding to live a happy life. We're like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Like a couple that actually respects each other and is kind to each other and listens to the other person. Like, wow, we're so used to toxicity.
I know. It's really crazy because we were so used to watching it on our screens.
Yeah.
A couple are like, okay, this is gonna end in divorce. But it's time for Luke to shower Kristen with some love. So Danny so nicely picks all these rose petals so that he can go with Britney while Luke and Kristen are at dinner and set up this little massage table and the rose petals. So we don't actually get to see her enjoy or like.
I was stressed. Because I was like, she's going to think he's proposing. Oh my God. She's going to be so mad because she's going to think he's proposing.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I immediately was like, oh shit. I was like, oh my God, don't do this.
That's why we didn't see it, because maybe she thought it was and then felt stupid and then was pissed off maybe.
That's where
I would be like, oh my God, yes. And then
you're talking about having kids. Wouldn't you think that? Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, like, maybe, I didn't even look at it that way, but I would have been like, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea if you're not planning on putting a ring on it, Luke.
They were trying, I guess, because she was ovulating. They were wanting to set the mood for her to try and get pregnant.
Okay, but then go put rose petals on the bed. Yeah. Don't lead it all through the house. That's an engagement pathway vibe, not let's make a baby vibe. I don't know. I'm just saying, now that you pointed it out, now I'm like, oh yeah, that didn't look good at all. Maybe that I'm just gonna in my head, that's why we didn't see the scene, because she probably was like, oh
yeah.
Oh, but we do find out that they did consummate their love and everything's, was okay, I guess. And now it's, it's the gala, it's the event, it's the whole thing that we've been, Janet's been planning. She's stressed about what table. People are trying to avoid Kristen like the plague.
Zach, it was the Birkenstocks she wore. What the?
Those Birken. I hope to God she didn't show up in those and that she just
did.
put them on. Are
She got out of
you
the car in them.
kidding me, Kristen Doute?
She got out of the car in them.
She's playing games. She's playing games now. I did not notice that. I would have been very upset had I seen her. I missed it. I only saw it at the end because I was like, why is she wearing oh, maybe because her feet are tired at the end of the event. That makes sense.
You could put on pretty sandals. You don't have to wear heels, but like some pretty strappy sandals.
Even Kathy Hilton's like fucking hotel slippers would have done.
But beige Birks
with that sparkly whatever she was wearing. What was she wearing? I forgot what she was wearing.
Just a simple black dress. And then she had, I don't know if it was her purse or some sort of like.
That weird shaggy thing was throwing me off. Was that a purse or a shawl?
I don't know. That's what I can't figure out. And Jesse's dinner jacket.
Oh my God. That jacket, by the way, is not for that event. I'm sorry.
No.
You are about to go host a game of Monopoly and do blow.
Zach was on point.
Zach
he
looked
like he was going to do a line across the whole bar in Miami in the 80s. I mean, it was like.
He does.
Totally.
He goes skiing on the regular, babes.
Absolutely. Now, Michelle, no notes. She looked fantastic. It was like a modernized version. This isn't a fashion podcast, but I just had to talk about it for a second. I loved it because it was like
fashion here. Don't get it twisted.
Yes, we do. She elevated that very famous How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days yellow dress, but it was elevated and I loved it. And I thought she looked amazing. I like her sense of style so far. She's very chic, but it's like that old money type of chic. And Jesse is, I don't know,
he always to me comes off like he just did an 8-ball and just like busted into the rooms like, what are we doing now? Like, you know what I mean? Like that type of guy.
Like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, like he comes out of nowhere and he just starts yelling at you about a bunch of shit because it randomly hit him because he just did a bunch of lines in the back.
That's what happened to his jacket. He ran through the room and someone must have been painting or drinking a Kool-Aid and he just got hit every which way. And that's how the jacket turned out how it did.
Either that or he busted through a paint and sip and just like crashed through everyone's fucking painting and just was like, here we go.
I'm just imagining it now.
Let's go to be the match. So the event looked nice and obviously for a good cause, and there was seemingly no drama at the event. So that's a pro for Janet. But we have this moment where Zach is, he turns to Michelle and he takes accountability for his part in it. And, she's like, it's fine. You're gay. That's what you guys do, apparently. But Kristen, on the other hand, can die. Like, it was just like very like, okay, he was also a part of it. He's one who told her, and we just let him go like very easy.
See, I took it that she didn't even give a shit that they were. Sorry, you got me with that one. You guys are gay. That's just what you do. I don't think she even gave a shit that they were talking shit about her at all. I don't think she cared.
No, it was about the racist word.
Yeah, because I'm sure the other things were true. I have a feeling
that's why she's not arguing with anything else.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I think she's racist, and not every single Republican is a racist, obviously, just like Zach, Jax, Jesse, Jesus.
All of them.
Just like Zach had said, that doesn't always equal that. There's just been some people who are vocal in that realm. I'm
totally,
I'm trying not to say lump everyone together as being the same.
But we don't know. So we can't just make things up because we can assume a lot about a lot of things. We can assume Luke is probably backwards in the way that he views things, but we don't know that. And we are still getting to know these people. And truth be told, if there's something lying beneath those bushes, dear, they'll come crawling out somehow. So don't worry.
Always.
But, Zach wants to also, in turn, in my opinion, I think Zach let Kristen take the fall for what he implied. But that's a whole other story. I do enjoy Zach, but I do think he got scared in the moment because when he realized that this was actually a TV show that was going to air, he pulled back. And I think that's why Kristen said that to him. She was like, you literally steamrolled me, dude. Like, I don't even know you right now, because I don't think she's lying. And I do think that her word usage of repeating is correct. I don't think that she minced her words. I don't think she misunderstood, but it seems that she's not going to be able to migrate from using the word repeat. And she refuses to pretend like she made the whole thing up, which I agree with. If you didn't make it up, you shouldn't be pretending like you did just for the sake of whatever. It happened. It was said. But, you know, Jesse and Michelle agree that they will go outside and they'll have a calm, what hopefully will be a calm conversation, and Kristen can say her piece. They go outside. Kristen's wearing her god-awful Birkenstocks and that shaggy little whatever that is. And she goes in right to Michelle and she's like, you know I love you. You know me. I would never do something to purposely hurt you. I know this was hurtful and I'm sorry for repeating it. And she's like, that's where I'm going to stop you. It's the repeating, because everyone's saying that they didn't say that. So, and she's like, well, actually, we kind of wrapped that conversation up the other night and everyone kind of took accountability. So I'm sorry for repeating. That's what I'm going to say. She let Michelle know also earlier, I have been protecting you because I think, now it's making a little bit more sense. I think Michelle has probably said some out-of-pocket shit about that if Jesse was repeated on a mic in front of a camera, obviously would not look good to the audience. So I think Kristen was reminding her gently, hey girl, remember, watch it.
A bit of a threat, I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe move on a little quicker, because if I say what I really want to say, you'll be real mad, because then I'll unleash the whole thing. Like, I don't know.
She's
what
clearly going
are.
to at some point.
Well,
she's going to, because you see Michelle yelling at her like, you've done to my marriage.
I think Michelle confided in Kristen about her marriage issues and probably said, I am going to pull the trigger and leave this man. I don't know why, but I think Michelle, whether she realized beginning to film the show or midway through or towards the end, that she was definitely going to leave this man. And I don't know what was said. And it seems like there was a lot of things maybe filmed for the Sizzler when they keep referring to, we all talked about each other behind each other's backs. I'm thinking back to the Sizzler. Maybe there was a lot of that. Where they were having these interactions and stuff, and maybe people are trying to say like, okay, I don't know, something's off about this. Kristen's very much and so is Zach, because Zach did not push back on her about it either in the moment. So I think my theory could be right. I think Zach did allude. I don't know if he used the word racist. Okay, I'll give him that. I don't think he did. But there's many ways you can call someone a racist without actually saying they're a racist, is what I will say. And I think that's what we have
someone
here.
Might be a bit bigoted. Someone might have
microaggressive, somewhere along the lines of those types of behaviors. Yeah, I mean, one might say, I mean, even like, yeah, Zach did not, he could instantly in that moment be like, no, I never, he didn't.
I'm going
to tell you. Unless they cut it out, but I don't think they would, because they're clearly gunning to make Kristen like the asshole. So
right.
Well, you know, I think we are on a good roll here with the show.
Agreed.
They're not missing a beat on these episodes, I'll tell you, because I am glued to what's happening, and that is always a good sign.
Yeah.
But that concludes the recap for Capri Chaos, The Valley. Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.